Going live, going live. Hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jennifer Waters, and I am part of the CNY Fertility, CNY Healing Arts team here in Syracuse, New York. And I just want to say good morning and hello to everyone. As usual, I just have a couple minutes, but I want to answer this very important question that people ask us all the time. Should you do acupuncture? And the answer is yes. Acupuncture is going to benefit you no matter where you're at in your cycle, no matter what your diagnosis is, no matter what outcomes you are hoping to achieve. The focus of acupuncture is on the bioelectrical aspect of your being. We focus a lot on the biochemical in terms of nutrition, targeted supplements, creating the environment, cellular environment that is optimal for health and fertility. We very rarely talk about the bioelectrical, the energetic aspect, and how can we support that in us? What can we do to move energy? There's lots of different ways to do that. Acupuncture is one of many ways. So I just want to talk for a minute about the history of acupuncture. I don't think people realize this. You hear all the time like acupuncture is thousands of years old, and that is true. If you look online, most sources say that it started in China approximately 3,000 years ago. Now, I don't know that that's true. We know that it's been practiced in China since the beginning of the history of China. Okay, so we seek to solutions collectively when there is an imbalance in our society, right? People are getting sick. We look for solutions. And that's exactly, from my understanding, how Chinese medicine evolved. It evolved out of a need from dis-ease, from pain, from people suffering. And so looking around, what can we do to support, to regain health in our body, mind, and soul, spirit, consciousness, whatever you want to call it. So the other thing is we can't 1,000% sure that say that it started in China, because what about Tibetan medicine, right? So we know that places elsewhere outside of China, and that's a big debate, is is Tibet part of China? Blah, blah, blah. We're not going to get into that. But Tibetan medicine has its own focus. Acupuncture is part of it. It has a much more evolved spiritual component. After the Cultural Revolution in China, obviously they did away with the psycho-spiritual part of Chinese medicine, and it was basically just focusing on the physical part, which is fine. So my point is that, maybe it really started in Tibet and was exported into China. The same with Egyptian medicine. When we look at the history, at looking at mummies, right? A lot of you probably read the story about mummies were found with acupuncture points that had been stimulated, or the mummies, I guess, had tattoos. There was obvious recognition of meridians and points. So this goes way back. So where did it really start? I mean, maybe it all started simultaneously around the same time. And it was at that point what we would call common sense. Now it's not common sense using needles as conducting rods for our energy in our body. I wouldn't call that common sense. So anyways, it's interesting. It's a subject I'm going to dive into a little bit more as life goes on here, because I'm fascinated in that. But here's the thing that's also interesting. Chinese medicine, let's say it started in China. Wherever it went, so it migrated to Australia, to Europe, to the United States. And wherever it goes, it takes on the flavor of the culture that it's in. It's adaptive. So, for example, in South Korea, it's the Chinese medicine that's practiced there is much more based on using mugwort moxibustion, which is heating the body up. So there's 4 branches of traditional Chinese medicine. They are herbology, acupuncture, manipulative therapy, otherwise known as Tuina, and food cures, which is very interconnected to herbology, using food as medicine and putting the herbs into food cures. So within the acupuncture part, we have needles, which I'd prefer to call filiforms so that people don't have such a strong aversion. We have cupping, which a lot of you have had. They're literal suction cups, which I'm going to do a whole talk on that, the benefits, what happens, how it facilitates healing. And then we have moxibustion, which is using a plant called mugwort in a variety of different ways to heat up the body to create change. And it's doing more than heating. It's kind of like it's the original laser therapy, honestly. It is red light therapy. And so it's photobiomodulation. Anyways, so when Chinese medicine went to South Korea, it adapted to the culture there. And as we know, a lot of South Korean food is very hot and spicy, and they eat that really spicy kimchi. So it would make sense that they would say, oh, we're going to use the hottest part of Chinese medicine, the spiciest part here, and use that to facilitate change in the body. So fast forward to now, people ask me all the time, well, if this is the case that Chinese medicine adapts to the culture that it's in and it's practiced very differently in Japan versus China, then what style do you practice? And I always say that I practice American style, North American style, which means that I am going to adapt to where you are at. Some people love strong stimulation. They really want to get the job done in 1 or 2 sessions. Some of that is done like dry needling technique, can be very strong. And other people really have an aversion to needles. They've had needle trauma, whether it's in this lifetime or past, who knows, but they don't want that strong electrical sensation. So we can adapt to where you're at to support you. So that's all I'm going to say for now. We have lots more to talk about, which I promise to do when I have just a little bit more time. Happy Wednesday. Have a wonderful day. Remember to be kind to yourself so that you can be kind to others. It is not hard to care. Okay, so let's focus on what's easy. Have a wonderful day. Bye. You can find